OK, let's get to UK politics first of all, because the just concluded by-elections in the UK have delivered a major blow to the ruling Conservative Party. It's been able to retain only one of their 3 seats, which went for a by-election, and that too with a narrow margin. Well, let's go through the details now, because the Tories closely avoided a big embarrassment, though, but a grim forecast of what might happen in general elections got highlighted. So the by-elections, they were held on 3 seats in the House of Commons. They were left vacant after resignations by Conservative leaders, including from the former Prime Minister, Boris Johnson himself. Now, the Tories, they suffered setbacks in 2 of these seats. Labour Party, they won the Northern England seat of Selby and Ainsty by roughly 4,000 votes. The second loss came in the southwestern England seat of Somerton and Frome, where Liberal Democrats defeated it by over 10,000 votes.
I am truly honoured by the faith of the people of Somerton and Frome and the faith that you have put in me tonight. It is humbling to be elected to represent the place my family have lived for generations and farmed for over 200 years.
We'll note that the Tories were expected to lose in all 3 seats, but did manage to keep the West London seat of Uxbridge and South Ruislip. Now, this seat was earlier represented by Boris Johnson, but still there is not much to cheer, as Tuckwell secured a win by a margin of less than 500 votes.
Tuckwell Stephen, commonly known as Steve Tuckwell, the Conservative Party candidate, 13,965. The number of ballots rejected. The number of ballots rejected was 77, and I hereby declare that the said Steve Tuckwell is duly elected.
Well, the results, they do signify a major downturn in support for the Conservatives under Rishi Sunak's leadership. In 2019, the party won these seats by a broad margin of 20,000 votes, but now has lost 2 of them with a vast majority. Now, these results also indicate how vulnerable the party is ahead of the general elections, which may happen next year. Now, the main opposition party, the Labour Party, are currently enjoying double-digit poll leads and are poised to retake power for the first time in over a decade. Now, the downturn for the Conservatives comes as England deals with inflation, unemployment and a migrant crisis. Our London correspondent Alex Isaac is poised to tell us more about these results and has been following them overnight. So was this a complete disaster for the Conservatives, or not quite as bad as some were predicting?
Well, it's not as quite as bad as the Conservative Party chairman, Greg Hands, was pushing out before this by-election came. He suggested that they would lose all the seats. So even to hold on to one is quite positive. But when we break down these specific areas, it does seem that actually many people didn't come out to vote over this particular by-election, that there was fewer voters than there have been in any past election. So looking at this and then comparing it to what we may see the general election, I don't feel that we'll be able to use this as a real judgment call, especially in Selby. We're looking there. It does feel that they just wanted Conservatives out. There was a lot of to and froing with the last MP, who basically threw his toys out of the pram because he couldn't be a peer. And I think a lot of people there were very frustrated by that. They want an MP that works for them. They want someone to take it forward about the cost of living crisis, the NHS. Those are the 2 major issues that we saw up north. When it comes to down south, looking at Somerset and Frome, well, that was a Lib Dem seat only 10 years ago, and actually Conservatives just managed to get it after that. But it has always had this push for Liberal Democrats, and what I do understand is that they were knocking on doors right until the last moment of voting to try and get people to come to the voting booths. So they really did put a proactive effort in, which can't be said for the same for the Conservatives, who did seem that they were already a bit dissatisfied dissociative of what was happening. We look at London, Boris Johnson's former seat now, which is still a Conservative stronghold. That again seems to be because of the ULEZ issue here in London. The ULEZ expansion has not gone down particularly well, and it showed, even though it was a small majority there for the Conservatives, that the people of Uxbridge and South Ruislip were very keen to show that they are not wanting this ULEZ expansion. They do not agree with the power that is in London. It's a Labour power here, and of course that if they did win that seat, the Labour did win that seat, it would probably then ripple effect to a lot of other local seats where ULEZ could potentially expand. And Labour have already said this morning that they may reconsider all of those discussions that Keir Starmer is having with the Mayor Sadiq Khan going forward. So in realistic terms, the Conservatives have definitely felt the pressure from the public. The public does seem to want to be pushing the NHS, cost of living. They want to see change happen, but it's not necessarily because of the issues that they're facing in government at the moment. Of course, Rishi Sunak has only been in power for a short time, and he has said himself, like, it is going to take time to be able to put these priorities that he's promised in place, and he is willing to do that. Just needs that extra bit of time. Losing those 2 seats is a bit of a downer, but it may well be something that he needs to push forward to try and get all of those other issues out and getting, before we get to October 2024, which is the suggested election date. He has still got a bit of a time to come. What he needs is his whole party rallying behind him. And Labour and Lib Dem are obviously going to be taking this as advantage, especially the Lib Dems down in the south as well. You know, they want to do what they can for their local people, and that is what has been voted for yesterday.
Yeah, really, really interesting results, actually. I was up late watching them all, just fascinated by it. And it does seem that here in London, the Boris Johnson Uxbridge was lost because of that Sadiq policy of ULEZ, as you said, the ultra-low emission zone. But super interesting. Thank you so much indeed, Alex Isaac, our London correspondent for us here on WION World as One.